Okay, now in this side, somewhere else in this side, like right around here, there isn't like grass here, grass there. It's really only on that side. So, well, guess what? And I'm showing you this because I've seen some people now where there's like a road with asphalt or concrete and there's no curves or anything, like just gravel or grass or something like that. Well, guess what? This works for roads. I'm doing it on sidewalks, but this could work anywhere else. So I'm gonna go color edge again, but now I'm switching the mode to pavement and grass, right? Okay, so click on dry edge. Now I like to zoom a little tighter, so there we go. Click on the line, it found it. And again, that idea of, maybe this time what I want to do, I might want to trim the edge. Sorry, let me click there again because I lost it just for a second. So I'm going to trim it, bring it down to here. You need to slow down because the software is actually thinking. I'll show you what I mean by the software is actually thinking. Well, here maybe, well, I didn't like that. So I might want to trim a lot here, but that's fine. Let's keep it. It doesn't matter. And let's go ahead and do another action here. Oh, before I do it, what other options you have? Color 1 and color 2. So we can actually play with that. And maybe you have a situation. Let me show you an example. I'm not going to run it, but I will show you an example. In this particular site, or to move here, well, guess what? They have red colored concrete pavers, right? So if I wanted to find this edge between the asphalt and that, I would do color 1, color 2. I could take my black asphalt and the red concrete pavers. Now, people ask me questions, hey, as you start zooming in, maybe you cannot see it that easily, right? So go back to the scene tab, turn on smoothing. That will help your resolution here. I like only smoothing when I'm very close to the points because, they can start becoming a little harder to see. But if I'm zoom out far out, then I see a blob. So I prefer without smoothing. Okay, that's kind of the difference between one thing and the other. All right, so let's go here just for a second, maybe like so. All right, so we've done color lines, we've done the building roofs, right? So let's do a couple of quick things now. How about we do curb extraction, right? So I'm gonna go down here under extract, curb, there we go. Okay, my settings, I wanna use my default settings, and it's remembering some of my settings. Now, if I were to make, I haven't changed this default, by the way, but if I want to make any suggestions, change this value. The minimum curb point count is set to 25 by default. But, we have arcs, right? We have curves, C-U-R-V-E-S, curves. So if you have curves, then you want it to chord around the curve, right? So because we're following this curve. So what I recommend is bring it down to anywhere between 5 and 10. I like kind of middle of the road, 8, right? I want to create a selection. Now, notice my setting here. My search radius is really low, down to 1 foot. I'm going to create a selection, right? Now, I know I can see that there's like a little curve here. So I'm going to create a selection, say, from here to here. I'll go a little farther. I don't need to go too far. I'm going to right-click, find my selection set. There's a hole in the point cloud there, but sorry, I should have not done there. I just want to do an extract now. Yeah. I'm going to have to clear. There we go, extract, I have my selection there. And there it goes. There's my curve, right? Now, what have I not done for you guys so far? I have not shown you that all along, the software was working in 3D. So all the lines that we just extracted, they're 3D polylines, which means if I wanted to do a surface out of this, I can move it over to CAD. I like to do it in CAD. I can move it over to CAD and then extract, build my surface out of that data. I have a lot of data right now, okay? So there's that quick way of doing things. All right, but this is a drone flight, good altitude, good GSD, ground sampling distance. The critical thing with drones, if you're doing photogrammetry, is your ground sampling distance, right? But we all have run and done the ones where things are not as nice as I've shown you. So what if I wanted to do this in a little more manual process? Or, I always tell people, I think crews should have a drone. Every crew should have a drone on the truck. Just fly the project all the time. You get the ortho and you get the point cloud if you miss something. So here's my example of, oh, wait, we missed something. We didn't do the manholes. So let's go into the create action tab, create point, right? And here's a key thing. Carlson field to finish. So this is my field to finish table that I use in Carlson survey, that I use in Carlson SurPC. So it's the same coding that I use back and forth, right? So that is great because I already know my codes. So I know I have a manhole code, MH, right? Now I'm going to do from a selection point of view, cloud. I'll just snap on the cloud. I'm going fast, right? Now, honestly, actually, let's not do it fast. Let's just do it right. Normally what I want to do is I want to do low point. Ground scanners, photogrammetry, you're going to have noise. So low points tend to be the right point, you know, especially with ground scanners, you know, that you'll see the noise. So low points is usually the right thing. Now, there's also low edge, high edge, and things like that. So you can try different things. See what's best for your specific point cloud for that specific project. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little tighter. Notice that the cursor drags a little bit. And the reason for that is looking at this snap radius, that tolerance there, right? It's a threshold. It's analyzing all the points around there and figuring out what's the load point. Great, now that I know, there it is. That's my manhole beginning. And guys, just for speed, time's sake, let's just say that there was another manhole up here. There we go. There's the next manhole. Again, it's running through field to finish. So if you look down here, I have start curve. So your PC, if you use Carlson in the field, your PC, PT, and all that stuff works the same. You have end line, you have closed lines, and all the stuff that you might do. So I'm going to do an end line here. Now, in case you're curious, yes, there is a right-click menu. So if you're doing curves, you know, I will do curves here. Actually, I'll go back here. Just right-click, curve, done. Move on, next line work, etc. So that's the way you become really efficient that way, right? Now, it could be another single point. You know, that's another thing that could happen. Or, you know, I'm not going to do it for this particular project, but, you know, when you have more of a flat area, you know, it's brand new area, we're going to subdivision, you know, brand new subdivision or something like that. You're going for topo, for design. Well, you do a by grid also. Actually, let's run it. This doesn't take too long. So let's go survey by grid. Here's the part that I was telling you. My point description for my point cloud points is XPC. PC is standing for point cloud. Now, if I were going to do it correctly, I would say I like to start in 5,000. This could be my 5,001. Let's do a cell 20 by 20. Fantastic, something like that. Lowest, you would have inclusion and exclusion. So we're going to extract points on a grid fashion this way, right? Now I'm going to cross my fingers, of course, and hit OK. So we've extracted parking lines, we've extracted curves, sidewalks, the color edges, if you wish. We added some fill to finish, the manholes, and now we're adding additional points. Now, normally for a site like this one, because I have all the brake lines that I'm getting from the parking stripes, everything's in 3D, I might not want to do this, but again, it's a training class, so I want to show you all the options. You know, normally what I would do is I would probably run here, you know, just place a few points here and there, and you know, add a little more information to the site. That's really what I'm looking for. I don't want to have like a full dense grid line there. Okay, so fantastic. I have my points. Great. Let's do an end action. Okay, let's do one more thing. I had a question from earlier from Eddie. I'll call out Eddie on this one. What if I need to trace the polylines myself, challenging site, or, you know, so there is a, under the create frame, there is a create polyline. So there's a little create polyline here. So you notice the snap types, we have the same things, low points, low edge, high edge. So this is me drafting a polyline slower, if you wish, because it's gonna be a little manual. So I could do something like this. Let's do low points again, perfect. All right, so maybe I want to do the sidewalk here, or maybe I want to do the other curve, like the curve in here, you know, something like that. Now, there is an option. You can do a lot of automation here too. So there's a draw curve. I'm going to my curve settings. All right. Now, notice there's a left and right. So if I'm going to do it, let me cancel it here. I'm going to do it here, in this area, right? So my curve is facing in this direction, right? We'll go back to curve settings. So I want my curve facing this way. The default, by the way, when first you open, it's going to be left. It's facing right. Cool. Go through your settings. I'm going to keep whatever defaults I have there. And what you do is you're going to zoom in tight. You know, I'm looking for low points here. I'm going to try to match it as close as I can. Remember, it's thinking. So it's going to take a little bit. Be patient in that. Just slow down a little bit. It's thinking about everything that's happening right now. And there you go. We just added that. Oh, I put it on the boundary side. Well, that's my bad. That's user error. That's not the software. But what we added now is that curve from the point cloud, and I have my backup curve, my total curve, and my flow line. So whether you do the automated curve extraction or this one, either one would work, right? So this is great. We have everything that we need. Okay, so let's talk about how do we finish this up, right? So I have my points, I have my line work, rooftops and all that stuff, so it's fantastic. Ooh, guys, nobody has said anything. I need to save. Okay, so let's go click on save. I'm sure we have everything saved. Okay, so how do we transfer this into the CAD drawing? Well, this is the easiest part that we can do. Let's go ahead and right click on polylines here. There's a draw tool here. Cool. Select everything, hit OK. It's going to tell you what do we want to do. Skip lines, you know, frozen layers and stuff like that. Or if it's a fill to finish line, skip it over because, you know, we're going to do fill to finish. Fantastic. It's done basically. By the way, in case you guys don't trust me, because I don't trust myself, right? So we'll go in here. Let me freeze the geo image there, the ortho, and there's all the line work that we just created. Parking stripes, my curves, my sidewalks, blah, blah. I'm good to go. I'm missing my points though, right? Let's go back here. How do we do it? There, coordinate points. FYI, if you double click here, you open the point editor, right? So you have your point editor here. You can see your descriptions. So you see my XPCs and you see my manhole, beginning, end. So all the stuff that you expect on fill to finish. You have the fill to finish flag here. So I'm going to click it there since I opened it. So yep, all the points. Thank you. There we go. Bah, 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 bah. I'm going to keep all my settings to make sure I have the same field code table. Fantastic. Hit OK. This is where I cross my fingers. It's going to take us under 2. This is reading everything, adding the CRD file in the project, and we're good to go. Basically, I am done, guys. So let's go ahead and close out of this one. There's all my points, all the line work, and we're good to go. All right, so let's do a couple of things. I want to show you 2 more features on the point cloud, right? And 2 or 3 more features on the point cloud, right? So let's do a quick thing. Let's wrap this up. We said I want to topo out of here. So we have all the points, all the line work. Play with the settings that you've seen so far. Maybe we don't need the points, right? Because we have a lot of line work here. So again, I would play with this depending on what you have. Let's run the surface with everything that I have in here. Not having it's an overkill, to be honest with you, but let's do it anyway. So I'm going to go back into my survey menu right there. We're going to go surface. I already have a boundary, so I don't have to worry about that. And I have the buildings, right? So I have my void areas, if you wish. So let's call this one existing ground, EG. There we go. And perfect contours. This is fine. Keep my defaults there. Okay, my boundary lines. So there's my boundary line. I drew that on CAD. Perfect. My exclusions, well, the buildings, we got them from the new building tool. Let's hit enter. And then my points and break lines and everything else. So, you know, Carlson, this is what we do. And off we go. Perfect. And we have that. Let's go take a quick peek. And again, guys, by the way, before I wrap it and move to the next subject, FYI, I actually have done this particular job for real. You know, Kevin and I were working on something, so I actually did it for real. And I even came back to this one once we added, you know, the curve extraction, some of the stuff. And I've done this with all the details. You can see there are the parking lines perfectly there. You can see your points. We can see the sidewalks there, the curbs and everything. This side took me, when I did it for real, focused on just getting the project out, it was about an hour, say an hour and a half. You know, it was a little more than an hour. Let's say an hour and a half or so. I think it was like an hour 15, 20 minutes, something like that. But I cleared all the line work in this one, added a few more points, I had everything else I needed. I was done. You know, that created the surface. So there you go. This is what happened. Okay, let's close out of here. All right, so I want to show you guys a couple more things. So what I will do is I'm going to close out of this one here. Let's open another file. And I already set it up, by the way. So just so you know, I'm not going to run a lot of things anymore. But let's bring this one up. This is a ground scanner. It was done with a Leica scanner. And to be honest with you, I don't know what scanner was used on this one. I know it's a Leica, but if somebody were to ask me, is it an MP40, MP50, was something older, probably something older, but there we go. Why am I here? Because I want to go back to action here, and I want to go back to buildings. So we did roofs just a second ago in the other file. I want to do walls now, but I want to do it one at a time, quote unquote, one at a time. This is just analyze the walls, right? So here's by wall, extract. Notice I'm not using all, extract. And I was asking me, pick a point on kind of the wall plane, if you wish. So what it's doing again, it's analyzing the wall planes and everything's done, by the way. And it's looking at the ground terrain and all this stuff. Let me just go from the bottom, and there it is. There's your building footprint. So the wall footprint this time, right? So kind of a quick thing to do if you're interested, right? It's a little quick, little trick, and one at a time. So something like this, I like this file, this ground scanner. Drones, I wouldn't be doing it with drones unless you flew oblique purposely to create a 3D model, right? Because you're gonna miss a lot of information. Now, people ask me, well, what if that happened? How do I get a wall? Well, there's planes. So I can go in here. A couple of things to know. There's the 1-point plane and the 3 points. So you have sparse data, which I tend to see with drone LiDAR sensors, right? It'll pick up some of the areas of the wall. Maybe there's an eve overhang or something like that. So it will be scattered, right? That's when you want to use the 3 points. It's going to ask you pick point, pick point, pick point. And based on that, it resolves, okay, I think there's a plane here. Now, if we want to see kind of the top of the wall and stuff like that, then I can go full here. Let me go back to 1 point. This one actually works fine with 1 point. And now left click on the plane. It's going to analyze that plane. And it'll draw a 3D polyline, which is the wall face. Now, this one, I'm always leery. It worked fine here, blah, blah. It's a fairly easy one to do, to be honest with you. The footprint was a little different because the footprint, there were some challenges on the footprint, but FYI. So there's a couple of things that can happen there. There's polylines. Same thing we did before. Just draw polylines to CAD and you're good to go. So that's a quick thing to do. Now, I like this file for another reason, because it has a ground scanner. So let's do this. You guessed it, power lines. There we go. We have some power lines here. So there's the easy power lines, and then there's the challenging power lines. The scanner was running around here, so it didn't pick up some there. So it might be a little struggle to get this power line there, but let's do it anyway. So we're going to power lines, and the default method is 3 points. So what we do with 3 points, we'll click on Find Power Line. Say, hey, I see that the support is there. I see that there's a point there, and I see that the other support is there. Voila, you have the power line. And this power line. Well, what the software did is we know there's a catenary on the power lines. So we know if you give us the supports, we don't have to calculate everything else. So there you go. Now, sometimes you pick it up a little better. You see a couple of lines in there that picked it up a little better. So the one I like is the 1 point draw all. Now I'm going to run on this one, like let's here, and voila, there you have the power line, and off you go. So I wanted to show you guys that one. It's kind of a neat tool to have. Now, a lot of people ask me questions, hey, what about the pole? What happens with the pole? Well, let's go to the poles. I'm going to go back to Create Point, Features, and under Features, under Feature Type, there's Poles, right? Okay, cool. Move the cursor out. There's a tip there. What does it say? Specify the base point for the pole. I'm going to click there, and we'll let the software figure it out. There's pole number 1. That's a tree. There's a tree feature. I don't like them. They're blobs. So it's kind of a personal preference, really, but I don't like them. Let's do the easy pole here. So our pole there. There we go. Let's grab another pole. There's another pole out here. There's a few poles. You get the point. I'm going to stop there. So a little quick thing to do. So I can under point, create point, extract the poles. There's trees, fire hydrants. Fire hydrants are okay. We use a fire hydrant symbol. Trees, it's kind of a blob. So if you really want it, sure, that's the way to do it. So a little quick thing to know there. So again, as usual, save. If you want to do this in CAD, just right click on your polylines. You see the polylines there. Draw, sense it over, you're good to go. So I'm on another file, and then I will wrap it up. I'm a little over an hour, so hopefully we'll close it here. For those of you more in the different situations, I've done a lot of topo in this case and buildings and things like that. What if we have a mine, a quarry, or you're on a job site and your job is to really calculate stockpiles, right? So something like that. Well, here's an example. So there we go. How about we calculate volumes in one of those stockpiles? So let's go ahead and do that. By the way, people ask me the question, what about those barrier filters? Do I apply the same barrier filters here? You notice there's this conveyor belt here, right? I could go into my berth, use this by expansion. It will remove the conveyor belt. If there's any vehicles, there's a couple of trucks up here. This quarry is actually in Michigan, so again, little things that you could do in that one. I'm not going to run the filter now. I mean, we've done it already, so you've seen it. You do want to calculate a volume here, right? So what do we do? Well, step number 1, you want to have a polyline, right? So I'm going to draw a polyline quick here. And again, this might be CAD. If you have it in CAD, because you have, maybe you're doing pits, and you've designed the pits or you've designed the area for the stockpile, you might have any CAD. So remember that thing I did before, right-click on polylines, read from CAD, bring those polylines in, or again, I'm gonna be kind of the lazy guy right now, and I'm gonna draw a polyline, right? So we're gonna call this one stockpile 1, something like that. And I'm gonna say start a new line. And guys, I'm gonna go for speed here because I'm taking a little longer than, but I did want to show you all the stuff that we can do with the point cloud. And this is point cloud advanced, by the way. So there we go. I can right click here. I can tell the software, hey, go ahead and close me that point line. Fantastic, we have that. Now, we have lens here, blah, blah, blah. So we have everything that we need there. Cool, let's do an end action here. What if I were to do a little quick measurement here? Because I want to check elevations here. So I'm going to just click a couple of points in there. So our height here, and somebody help me out here. Our height, we're in like the 253 range, 253. Then remember 253 in case I forget. All right, so we have that number, 253. Let's go into volumes. Cool. So what do we have here? So different options. Now, if I only wanted to calculate volume, just a quick report, I don't need to touch anything else, right? But if I wanted to have a triangulation, you know, triangulate this, be able to export it out later, I might want to save the tin, right? If I'm doing a selection, I might want to keep that selection to maybe isolate this as a separate cloud, right? So that's a couple of things that we can do. Use base elevation. You know, here's where the 253 comes to play, but just, I was kidding, by the way. There's this screen pick. So I could come down here and say, you know, this is the base elevation there. So read it from the point cloud. You know, it just makes sense. You should be able to do something like that. We are in feet. Fantastic. Notice that now it says select inclusion. I'm not going to save selections or save the base tin. I'm just going to click on the polyline, cross my fingers. It found it. And now what it's doing, it is actually triangulating the stockpile. And guys, this is not black and white. A lot of people have asked me the question in the past, how do you go about calculating stockpile volumes? I'll be honest with you. If I have a customer that they want a super accurate measurement, this is what I do, because we're triangulating from the point cloud and then comparing the volumes from that flat surface at 253.22 to that triangulation, which is the complex triangulation, right? But I just have a lot of customers that say, well, you know, if we're within a couple of inches, so then guess what I do? Survey by grid, right? I do a grid, a little grid, depends on the accuracy that they're looking for, maybe half a foot or maybe a tenth. You know, now I'm gonna go on from, you know, whatever number, hundreds of thousands of points to a few hundred points, if you make a couple of thousand points, triangulate that and then compare volumes, you know, so it's not black and white, it depends on what you need, what accuracy you're looking for, and your particulars on the project. All right, so there it is. Here's my cut, here's my fill. Of course, this is fill, so 23, you know, whatever, 47 square yards. Cool. If I click on continue, I get this full report. Okay, what else do you want to report out of this? Well, we have, in my opinion, way too much information here. So I kept it simple. I just want my cut, fill volume, cut area, fill area. Good to go. There we go. So there's my report. I have it cubic yards. I can do square feet, whatever it is that I need to do. And I'm good to go. So there's my report. Okay, fantastic. Now, finally, and I promise I will stop here, because of course the next question is, hey, can you cut a profile, right? Sure. So what do? You guessed it. I have to go draw a polyline. Let's put this one on. I'm gonna call it profile. Just profile. Cool. And I'm just going to draw that line from here to there. This is good. Oh, guys, sorry, my bad. I just realized like this, I'm blind. So you notice that it's giving me like a really long multiple lines. I was thinking thick lines, right? No, I'm drawing a curve, duh. Let's turn that off. Okay, let's really seriously turn off. I'm gonna do an end here. I'm gonna grab this line from here, and I'm basically gonna say, delete that polyline. Polyline, evil polyline, go. It's profile, there we go. Okay, so now let's do it. Let's click on new. So I want to make sure I know where I'm starting there. Fantastic. And we'll do end polyline there. Great. End action. Awesome. Now let's go profiles. Okay, so point spacing. So how often should we sample, you know, along this polyline? So let's say 5 feet. It might be an overkill. let's keep it 5 feet, doesn't matter. Points within. So again, we're looking at tolerances, right? So that's fine. Station, I'm going to do 0. Elevation, lowest for sure. Profile simplification, whatever. I'll just keep all the defaults here. If you want it, you can draw planes. I don't, so I'm not going to do it. Polyline, there we go. It's profile 1. Hit OK. Cross your fingers, that's critical, and there's your profile. Now, if I move my cursor, notice what's happening on the scene viewer. I get a little arrow telling me what I'm looking at. Here's what's happening in here. And then there's a save to project and a save to file. So if I were to do save to project, maybe you guessed it, we're saving a PRO file. For those of you who have worked with Carlson, go Carlson survey, edit profile, draw a profile. You open up the PRO and you get the profile with grid lines and everything in CAD.